everybody and welcome to my video, Getting Tidier. I hope you're all well and I hope you're having a lovely weekend. So the first few clips, as always, showed what I'm going to be doing today. So I've got quite a lot to catch up on because I didn't do quite so much last week. Trying to maintain the lounge, trying to declutter some more things, and we do a massive sort out of my daughter's bedroom. So we did loads of work on that the other week, not last week, I think the week before. And during this video, you'll see us do so much more. I get rid of a laundry basket full of recycling, rubbish, charity shop stuff. We've moved out nearly everything from her bedroom. And then I hoover the whole floor because as we lift up and pull up the carpet, it's going to cause quite a lot of dust. But you'll see me in the kitchen, and what I'm doing is I've got the basket from the sort out that I did the other day, and I'm putting the things from the basket into recycling and into the bin. There's also a few bits and pieces at the bottom where the items live somewhere else. So as many of you know, that's one of my least favourite things to do, going round with a basket and putting things away. I absolutely do not enjoy doing that. I like doing that about as much as what I like putting the laundry away. So I hope you've all had a good Saturday. For us, we've had quite a quiet sort of day, not really done that much, because we really wanted to try and do more in my daughter's room. Otherwise, I feel like that's going to be a decorating project for the whole year, as opposed to the next month. So that was our main focus. My husband also went to the supermarket to get some things, and he also took our nephew's card and present, as it's his birthday tomorrow. And we were invited out to a meal actually to celebrate the birthday, which would have been lovely. But we kind of felt for the whole week that really my daughter hasn't been herself, and now I think I'm probably getting it. We really didn't think that was a good idea. A, it's important for my daughter to rest further, and B, if I'm potentially contagious, I don't really want to pass it on to other people. It's quite interesting, some of the lurgs that are going around, because I was thinking that my dad didn't come round on Thursday because my daughter still had a cough. I was very confident that she was not contagious. So I thought, oh, that'll be fine. But actually the chances are it's got quite a long sort of period in terms of where you are contagious for, because I think I could have potentially been contagious if he had have come round the house. So it's a good job he didn't. So you can see I'm in the kitchen. There is a reasonable amount of washing up to do. My husband did some, but there is a fair amount just to clear up and sort out. I really did not do as much as what I normally do last week, just because of the various things that went on. So I start by doing some washing up. I put some things away, so you can see the saucepans piled up there that my husband had washed up. So I popped them away, and the side is not as bad as what it used to be. So I do feel like I'm getting a bit better, but I kind of feel like I've been doing this now for 18 months, 2 years. How long is it really going to take me? It feels like it's going on for a very, very long time, and still the house is not tidy. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Do I need to, somebody suggested again, you need to follow Fly Lady. Try Fly Lady for 30 days and you'll see how you'll see how you get on. But it seems so restricted and doing certain things at certain points, and there's still some rooms that really aren't tidy. So when they say, zone whatever it is, if zone whatever it is a complete muddle, how do you work that out? I don't know. Lots of you do follow Fly Lady though and know quite a lot about Fly Lady. But I don't know, I'm sort of at the moment just still trying to chip away. I sort of feel like, well, if I improve a little bit each week, get rid of a bit more, and I'm not bringing many things into the house, which is good. That's the main thing, isn't it? If more is leaving, well, I say leaving, it's piled up in the hall. If we're organising more and more to go, but not much is coming in, then it's going in the right direction. That's what I think. So I'm going to go through a few of your comments while I'm in the kitchen there. So thank you very, very much for adding comments to my channel. You know that I really enjoy reading through them. I try to respond to them all, but sometimes YouTube doesn't tell me, so I don't always know when someone's added a comment, and it doesn't show me replies either. So first comment is from Karen Howard, and Karen says, when we were broke, we used to go to the store, each pick out a Valentine card and give them, and then return them to the shelf. Smile. Oh, Angela replied, that's so sweet. And LV Frankie says, I've taken photos and sent them, saying this is what I'd pick for you. Oh, that's nice. Cami says, I think all your videos are great. Yesterday was my favourite one because you said you were going to start putting all your photographs in that basket when you find them lying around in various drawers and cupboards. I did think that, but I still don't know whether I'm completely bought into the idea, I'm afraid, Cami. Sorry to disappoint you, but I found some photographs, like some photographs I find I don't want in a central place. I don't see any point in putting them in a central place. So like I found a photograph of me when I was, I don't know, about 14, and it was like a little card that I'd made myself. It said my name, my date of birth and where I was born. And I made it on a little piece of white card and stuck my photo on it. Well, why do I want to put that in my central photograph basket? So I'm not completely bought on the idea. I actually quite like having photographs randomly placed in every single drawer and every single cupboard. It's like a nice little surprise when you're sorting through things and you think, oh, it's a picture of my daughter. And it makes you stop and have a little look at the photograph. I don't know. Maybe the photographs in like, you know, the old ones you used to send away and get through the post. So where I've still got them in the cardboard, whatever, you know, little envelopes, maybe those ones I can put in the basket. I don't know. Next comment. Kathleen Quinn says, great job, Emma. Get well soon, little Emma. Thank you, Kathleen. She's much, much better. She's still got a really nasty cough, though. I've got a cough, but it's quite a dry cough at the moment. So hopefully it will just stay like that and it will disappear. Holly says, I just have to say, Emma, you're an amazing mother. Oh, you really are a wonderful mum. Little Emma is very blessed. I hope she feels better soon. Well, I do my best. We all do, don't we, Holly? I love your videos so much. Wow, that's so interesting about Mr. Valentine. That's so lovely. Precious memories now made with your daughter. Thank you for sharing that with us. So interesting how different places do different things. Great to keep traditions going. Yeah, it is, Holly. I like that. I think it's important to keep little traditions going. I mean, years ago, people before, you know, sort of during the time when I guess Mr. Valentine became more popular and was visiting more and more houses, they used to tie like string to little presents and things, and somebody would, or cotton, and they'd hide behind the wall and pull the string. Maybe they did that in lots of different places though, not just Norfolk. Rebecca Corser-Wallace says, I did animal management and science at college. I went on to work for specialist veterinary practice for a long time. Wow. I'm an LSA now in SEND schools. I was working full time. I went part-time 2 years ago. Wow. So that's a really fulfilling job. I should think it's a very difficult job, Rebecca. When you wrote that, I did remember you previously told me that you worked with children with special educational needs. Are you part-time since Richard was unwell? Or was that before that? Andrea says, I love listening to you while I get on with my own work. Oh, thank you, Andrea. I'm glad about that. I've never heard of Mr. Valentine. Interesting. I live in Royston, Hertfordshire. It's definitely a Norfolk thing. I don't think he goes around the whole of the country. I think it's very much concentrated in Norfolk. And maybe a little, on the Suffolk border he potentially gets to, but certainly no further than that. My father-in-law grew up in Suffolk and he had never ever heard of Mr. Valentine. Mr. Valentine had never visited his house. Whereas my mum and dad both lived in Norfolk and he visited their house. LV Frankie says, I hope your daughter is on the mend by now. You wonderful mum, coughs are the worst. They actually make little bodies and even big bodies very tired. I agree. I agree. I was thinking about this, Frankie, I would have been about 14. And I think some of the teachers were a bit surprised because my sister was 3 years older, and I think they're a bit surprised because we've got very different personalities. So my sister is more is quieter and more reserved. So suddenly I arrived in the school and they were a bit surprised with this different sort of personality. And I was sitting in, I think it was a music class, and I'd got this dreadful cough. So it's interesting that I remember having coughs. I had this dreadful cough. And in the end, I had to leave the classroom. And when I came back, my friend said to me, the teacher said, oh, she needs to give up the cigarettes. Well, no offence for people who smoke, but nobody in my family smokes, and I don't like smoking. And that was not a good thing for the teacher to have said to my friends. And I then told the teacher that towards the end of the lesson. I said I wasn't, I'm not impressed what you said about, my smoke, saying that I'd got a smoker's cough. And when I look back and think I was only 14 and saying that to the teacher, quite opinionated. Angela said, well done, Emma. I hope your daughter is feeling better tomorrow. She is so much better, which is good. And she's actually sleeping really well. And I'm really, really thankful that when she was younger, this sort of episode would have resulted her going to hospital. And the last time we were in hospital was during COVID. Like I said to you before, it was September 2020, and it sticks in my mind really clearly because what I witnessed in hospital was completely different to what I was seeing on the news. Because my daughter was really, really struggling with her breathing. We obviously didn't want to go into hospital because everything on the news. In the end, there was really no choice because she was struggling so much with her breathing. The hospital was, I went to several areas of the hospital. The hospital was completely empty. The entire children's ward, there was one other child. The corridors were empty. Everything about it was like a ghost town. The whole of the hospital was quiet. I mean, I'm not saying that I visited every ward. Of course I didn't. And I'm sure the wards where there were like older people who got immune compromised, a compromised immune system is the best way of saying it. I'm sure they were busy on some of those wards. And then I also remember thinking, will I be expected to wear a mask? Not really knowing what the expectations were, what the rules were, etc., etc. And most of the nurses and the doctors didn't wear masks. So we were in there, I suppose, for about 4 days, I think. 3 or 4 days. But so I'm really thankful that I think she's getting bigger and stronger, and her lungs will become stronger and her immune system will become stronger. So that's good. Cami says, I didn't know you had 2 sets of stairs. Didn't you? Angela says it's 1 staircase with 2 flights of stairs. Hope that helps. Alice says with a landing in between makes 2 flights of stairs. Cami says that's cool, so the house is 3 stories. Now the loft makes sense. Alice says 1 goes to the 1st floor, the other to the loft room. So the first set of stairs goes from the ground floor to the 1st floor. The second, then I have the landing, like you said. Then the second set of stairs go from the landing to the 2nd floor. Ground floor, 1st floor, 2nd floor. M. Faircloth says, I'd no idea hot water bottles have an expiration date. Yes, do tell us more. Yes, they do. And there have been several cases where people have been very badly burnt because they're using hot water bottles which are way out of date. So M. Faircloth is not something that I've known for a long time. But I think there were a couple of cases fairly recently where somebody got some really, I think it was a child, got some really severe burns. I mean, I was always taught never to put boiling water in a hot water bottle. I was always taught to put cold in first and then top it up. So you like have half cold and half boiling. However, I think my husband's family did it slightly differently because he does use boiling water. But what happened recently, there were cases where because the hot water bottle was so old, it split because the rubber was so old and it scalded the child's legs. So what you have to do is you have to look for the daisy wheel. Now, I'm noticing that some of these hot water bottles that are coming in, like, you know, whether they're like from Temu or coming in from China, they don't have the proper marking. But if you buy one like from Boots, for example, it will have a daisy wheel. The number in the middle is the year the hot water bottle was made, and there'll be little petals, and usually 12, and they represent the number of months. So usually January at the top, and then they move round clockwise. And then depending upon the dots, that'll be the month that has actually been made, what month it's been made. So like 8 dots means it's been made in August. And generally speaking, it's 2 years. So after 2 years, the rubber is thought to degrade, and therefore there's an increased risk of splitting, and you shouldn't use it. You should get rid of it. But the main thing is, you shouldn't fill it with boiling water. But I have got some hot water bottles that are old. I think there's some more that I can get rid of. And as you know, I think as they get older, you're better just to do cold and boiling, and definitely not boiling water. But then the other thing I thought was, if it's really old and the rubber does, you know, wear and it splits, you don't want the bed to be soaking wet, do you? So it's not just about scalds, it's also about the practicality of it and the risk of causing yourself a major issue, major problem. So you can see there I'm in my daughter's room. A minute ago I was then sorting out, there's a few bits and pieces in that bowl in the lounge that I thought I could get rid of. So I've got a pile of things that I can get rid of, but I'm not including them in today's challenge, because today's challenge is all about the items that I'm taking from my daughter's room. So it's the 24th of January, which means that I need to get rid of 8 things. And I get way more than that. I really wish, rather than having to watch all my videos, I wish I'd done a running little note of all the things I've got rid of every single day, because it's way more than 496. Because as well as all the items, which is a lot more than 500, all the rubbish that I've not counted, I've got rid of a lot of rubbish, and I've not counted it as part of the challenge. Now, many people said, yeah, you can count rubbish, but I just chose not to. And then with things like, if there was things for recycling, a lot of that I didn't count to begin with. And then a little bit towards the later end, I thought if I've got like lots that I'm getting rid of, I counted like several sheets of paper then as one. So the object of today was to clear out those Calyx boxes and then take everything through to my daughter's temporary bedroom. I'd try to clear the floor and then to start pulling up the carpets. So we really did manage to get a lot done. Now, it's quite interesting because underneath the carpet, I felt like I remembered this briefly and then I forgot that my daughter has actually got really nice floorboards under that carpet. So that gives us another option to think about, rather than taking the skirting off and trying to refit the door, there might be an option where we could have the boards sanded and treated. This is what we had done downstairs, but my husband did it, and now some of the bits downstairs are getting very, very worn. But we'd probably get somebody in to sand it all down with a machine that takes all the dust out of the air. Because when my husband did the whole of downstairs, we weren't living in the house. So it didn't matter if it's a little bit dusty. Whereas when you're living in the house, you can't have all that dust everywhere. Whereas the people now, they have like these machines and it's all the dust is hoovered up instantly. He can then fill any gaps and then he can stain it whatever colour we choose. So I think that gives a really sort of good option. And when I started looking at the floorboards, I thought, my goodness, they're going to look so much better than the floor that we're thinking about buying. So that sort of influenced my decision slightly. I don't think my daughter's quite sure yet. She's just keen to get everything out, take up all the carpet, and then start thinking about painting. She said, what goes first? Do you paint first or do you do the floor first? I said, oh, we're going to paint first, get all the painting done first, and then we'll think about the floor. So you can see that I'm dusting things before we move them. And then you'll see in a minute the piles of things in the floor that need to be sorted through. I don't know, some of the things I just looked at and I just thought, oh, we just need to get rid of more. But what we're going to do is once we start moving the furniture back, I'm not going to put anything back here unless she's absolutely certain that she wants it in her room. I'm going to be really strict with what we put back in. Okay, next comment is from Sandy. Sandy says, take it easy until your daughter's well and you can get decent rest. Thank you, Sandy. Brooke Howell says, when you talk about your daughter coughing and not going to school, it reminds me of my childhood. I had bronchitis and I remember in 5th grade, I would have been 10. My teacher had me sit out in the hall because she couldn't hear a soft-spoken classmate recite her poetry due to my coughing. Oh. My mum came unglued. I never heard of that expression before. Oh, why did she have you sit out in the hall? If you were going to move your desk into your daughter's former playroom, I see no harm in using the drawer for photos. This way you won't have to find a place for your basket. You are also keeping your other sentimental items in your loft room. I must have misspoke. I meant the blue bin that is fairly large. Is that what you should keep all of your items that need rehomed in? The blue bin. Oh, wait a minute. You call a bin like a basket. Have I got a blue one? Don't know. Brooke's so observant. Do you mean the little? I've got a little green one. The little green one to do with the Halloween. I can't think that I've got a blue one. But you probably remembered something that I've forgotten. Frederique 99999 says, hello Emma, I'm watching from Brussels in Belgium. You made a lot of progress. Stunning. My daughter was an allergic baby. I tried homeopathy and it worked fine. It was a long process. She first had her allergy with food and after on her skin. She's still sensitive with certain dog or cat hair. It depends. She can eat whatever she wants now. Removing the carpet in her bedroom will help. I hope so. And my daughter has a cat now. Forgot to mention. I really hope your daughter is doing fine because as a mother we care. It's a pleasure to listen to you. I improved my English. Kisses. Oh, what a lovely message. Frederique, thank you ever so much. Now, for those of you that are listening that haven't been to Belgium, Belgium is not a very big country, but it's so beautiful. Really, really lovely. So I've been to Bruges and it was stunning. Beautiful chocolates, lovely lace and just a nice place to be. So Frederique, I'm very, very pleased to see that you post. Very pleased to see that you're posting from Belgium. And thank you for letting me know that you tried homeopathy and it worked. I must admit, every time I use homeopathy and it works, I'm secretly a little bit stunned. It's got an awful lot of criticism because everybody puts so much faith into the pharmaceutical industry. Let's face it, a lot of these medicines and drugs that are created by the pharmaceutical industry are based upon plants and ingredients all around us. But yeah, I have had some success with homeopathy. Maybe now my daughter's a bit older, I should think about what options there might be to see whether that can help her with her immune system. Angela Wag said $8 is currently £5.96 sterling. This was our conversation about a card. Maybe just everywhere has become extremely expensive. I don't know. I'm spending less and less and less, I am. I spend such a small amount of money. I think the most money that I spend is probably food shopping. And then we've still got our massive electricity bill. Do you remember from when they stopped taking the direct debit and then they suddenly took £400 and said they needed to take £400 per month? And I had to contact them and say, no way, you're taking £400 a month. So you can see there in my daughter's room, me sitting in the middle of the floor surrounded by stuff. I decided to take everything out of the wardrobe, decided to go through everything and anything to try and look for things that we could get rid of. There were some things that I felt like we could remove from her bedroom completely. Some things that I do want to keep. They were either mine from when I was a baby, or we just want to keep hold of them. But there were quite a lot of things that I was very pleased that we could get rid of. Rubbish, recycling, and also quite a lot of things for the charity shop. Now, the reason why you can see my daughter standing there, she's not just standing there watching me working, she was actually putting some things on Vinted. So we managed to sell something on Vinted, and she's quite excited about that. And we've had a few other people contact us offering different amounts. So I've said to her, well, if you put some more things on Vinted, we'll be able to get more out of the house. So she'd come in and was asking me what other things that she could put on. So I was helping her sort out what else she could take photographs of and post. Cammy Hell says, we don't have Mr. Valentine or anything like that, but when my kids were small, I used to get them little things like chocolates or pencils or tablets with heart-themed stuff and give them for Valentine's gifts. Oh, that's lovely. It would have been more fun if it had been from Mr. Valentine. Oh, I don't think he goes as far as America, Cammy. I think it's literally Norfolk. And like I said, Norfolk, the Suffolk border. I don't think he actually goes anywhere else, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. It is something that is specific to Norfolk. And I don't know how I would get a message to him to say that's something that you'd like. And your children are grown up now, aren't they? But that would be nice for your grandchildren. You just hear this big knock on the door and you go running and you open the door and there's something on the door in a bag, and it's dark outside and it's usually cold outside and there's no one there, and you come in and you take your bag to the lounge and you look through your bag, and if you're really lucky, the door goes again and your mum and dad and your siblings are sitting in the room with you. There's a big knock on the door, so you all jump up again, run to the door, open the door, there's another bag. One year, he came 4 times for my daughter. 4 times. It was so exciting. I was so excited. I really was. Next comment is from Clean Sweep. Now, Clean Sweep, can you remind me where you're from? I can't remember where you're from, sorry. Clean Sweep says, once the January challenge is finished, I'm suggesting February challenge to be a game of sorting called Like with Like. Documents with documents, books with books, photos with photos, DVDs with DVDs, knickknacks with knickknacks, stationery with stationery, etc, etc, etc. I did reply to Clean Sweep to say for February I'm going to hibernate, but I don't think I'm going to hibernate. I think I'm going to retire. That is what I'm going to do. Thank you very much for the suggestion, but I think come February that I'm going to retire. William Hawthorne, that's Lizzie. Hello Lizzie, how are you? Hope you're having a lovely weekend. How's William? Lizzie says, hi Emma, I'm so glad you've seen to the stairs. I learned that lesson watching my friend go flying down the stairs. She was badly hurt. Could so nearly have been worse. So please don't clutter your staircases. All right, Lizzie, I won't. Every time I go to put things on my stairs, I'll think of you, Lizzie. Don't put things on the stairs. Thank you for that. It is a worry when you hear about people falling down the stairs. There was someone that they didn't live that far away from me. They fell from the 2nd step up and they died. They literally, it was only 2 stairs. It was only 2 stairs up. I mean, I didn't know this person. I just heard about it connected to the local church. It was absolutely dreadful. Obviously, however they fell was very dangerous. I'm guessing they fell on their head or something. Absolutely awful and scary. Thankfully, I fell down the stairs sort of a little bit when I was a child, nothing serious. I think the biggest injury that I had on the stairs when I'd got this big cardboard box This was, I can't think how old I would have been, maybe 9. This big cardboard box. I loved cardboard boxes. I mean, what child doesn't love a cardboard box? And I positioned it quite high up in the stairs. Now, if anybody's got children listening at this point, you're best to mute, because I don't want to give any children any ideas. But I positioned the cardboard box at the top of the stairs and I put my toys down. The doll went down, the teddy went down, another teddy went down, another doll went down. It was great fun. I think my mum was in the kitchen cooking food. My dad, I think, was working, and I'm not sure where my sister was. But this was like really entertained me for quite a while. And I thought, well, the dolls and the teddies have gone down successfully, so can Emma. So I positioned myself, you know where the stairs bends on my downstairs stairs? My mum's, where I grew up, stairs are exactly the same. So I positioned myself at the top, just after the bend. Pushed myself off, like a bit like I was on a ski slope. Boy, the speed got completely out of control. So I really thought this, in that split second, I thought this is dangerous. So I reached out and I grabbed the banister. Oh boy, did I jar my arm. That was so painful. And I can remember my mum saying something to me like, well, whatever were you thinking? And I said, well, the dolls went down fine and the teddies went down fine. I thought I'd be fine. Holly says, I hope you don't get any worse, Emma. I'm glad little Emma is doing better. Please take it easy. Thank you very much. And Rainy Milliman is recommending that I have green tea with lots of raw honey. Oh, I do like raw honey. Thank you. Sandy's comment is next, and Sandy says, yes, glad to see the stairs cleared. Did they get your pension fixed? No, they didn't. They didn't. So I didn't keep on waffling yesterday to tell you the story. But after I finally got it to be fully investigated, they came back and said, despite all those times they'd said, nothing to see here, nothing to see here, they then came back to say, yes, you're correct. We did sign you up to the wrong pension. Now, the problem is that the pension that they signed us up to, I can't remember the exact figures, but say, for instance, the employee contributions are 15%. For this other pension, the employer contributions are significantly more, but the employee contributions are also more. So their plan now is to get that money, scrape all that money back from people. And the way they plan to do that is by saying, oh, well, it was an overpayment, which it wasn't. Oh, it was an overpayment, and therefore we're going to deduct £100 a month from you or £50 a month from you. So I said, well, what if people say no? You're not taking it from me. Or what about people who can't afford £100 a month or £50 a month? They said, well, they'll go through various different procedures to check, which would involve providing 3 months or last 6 month statements for the income for the house, the whole of the house. I can't believe it really, because when you look online, if they've made an error, they have to correct it. So it really is quite incredible. There's always something to sort out, isn't there? That's how it feels. That's like, if it's not one thing, it's the other. So what have you all been up to today, and what have you got planned for tomorrow? So we were talking about what we're going to do tomorrow. Probably go to church in the morning, and then afterwards we normally go straight to the gym, but I'll just have to see how I am, because I have got this cough and I don't want to make myself any worse. In terms of my next week, Monday I'm not working, and Tuesday I'm working first thing in the office, then I'll probably come home. And Wednesday I'm first thing in the office, which is going to be a massive shock to the system. The fact that I'm in 2 days in a row. But Thursday I've got the day off holiday. In the morning we've got a family funeral. Now I was thinking about going to the funeral in the morning and then working in the afternoon, but I just thought that's going to end up being a bit too much, so I'm not doing that. So we'll drop my daughter off at school, and then we'll go out to the family members, go to the funeral, and then we'll come back afterwards. And I'll probably just do some things in the house and then go and pick my daughter up afterwards. So I don't know if you saw, but I was on the phone briefly, and that's because my husband is trying to organise our Harry Potter studio tour visit. Now this is part of my daughter's birthday present last year, and we've been trying to book it in. They have a massive, it's really difficult to go. They have a massive backlog in trying to book. So you know, when if you gave it for someone's birthday September, you couldn't go October and November because it would be booked up. So we booked it in, and then when I looked at the dates for the Duke of Edinburgh that she's doing at school, we've got a clash. And then so I said to my husband, oh, we've got a clash. That unfortunately then means that you have to pay a fee to move the date. So I was just ringing. So part of the present was for her to go with her cousin. So it's going to be me, my husband, my daughter, and one of her cousins. We're going to go to London and then spend the day there and then come home. So she's very excited about that. So I think, as you know, everything that I've read about it and everything that I've seen online, it does look fantastic. So that's good, that's booked in. We've got one other thing that needs to be booked in that we've been waiting for absolutely ages. And I feel that until these two things are booked in, I feel like I can't book anything else. It's a bit silly. I've got a friend who I used to work when I worked in banking. I was a manager in the bank, and my deputy manager I still keep in touch with, and she's now taken redundancy from the bank. So she's worked for the bank for decades, I think maybe 25 years. And I keep wanting to reach out to her because we're supposed to be going out for a drink or going out for dinner. But until I get these two things booked, we've got an experience at a zoo. And it's like a zookeeper for the day type thing. But she's got two where she can actually go into the pen. So I think we're going to go into where the giraffes are and then also go in with the fossa. So we won it at an auction. It was really exciting, and that was really, my daughter saw the list of prizes and she really, really wanted that. And I thought, when we started bidding, I thought, please don't bid against us, please don't. No, the price went up and the price went up. But it was for a really, really good charity, and it's something that she's always wanted to do. And what's really lovely is that it's supposed to be two people. So it's going to be me or my husband and my daughter. So my husband said, well, is it okay for the morning experience to be mummy and our daughter, and then the afternoon to be daddy and the daughter? And they said, no, you can come in, the three of you, which I thought was really, really lovely. And we'll get cake and coffee or tea and cake in the morning. So that should be really nice, but we're just trying to get it booked in. It's so difficult. This is where what needs to happen is that we need to have a 3-day weekend, don't we? That's what needs to happen. We need to have a 3-day weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Friday would be good because then I'd have 4 days off. I'd have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now it's getting closer and closer to when we've got to start doing the dreaded tax return. Now I know quite a few of you have to do a tax return and you like it about as much as me. Now after last year, that's the accountant that ended up taking the accountant longer because halfway through the year we had to move bank accounts. We didn't have a choice, we had to, because of the requirements of one of the other organisations we deal with. So we moved our banking over to meet the requirements of this other organisation. And that then meant that we had to submit 2 sets of statements to the accountant. And when we then met to go through everything, he said, oh, this took me so much longer. And he kind of sort of said, oh, like, you know, it wasn't so, how we'd done it wasn't so organised as usual. And also, because you had the 2 bank accounts, I've charged you £150 more. I was really taken aback because never have I known somebody to like provide a service or a product or anything and not tell you that the price is going to be more until you actually come to do like the final meeting. And me being me, I couldn't just sit there quietly and then come off the phone and moan about it to my husband. I said, you know, thank you for going through everything. Thank you for sharing, you know, the work that you've done and going to the figures. just a request, I was taken aback with the fact that it's going to cost me £150 more. I really do think that you should have told us that in advance. So he said, oh, right, I'm sorry about that. Now, normally we give him something for Christmas, but I felt like there wasn't the same sort of goodwill. And I did think about that because I thought, is that not very Christian of me not to give him anything for Christmas? He does not celebrate Christmas, I should add. He's actually Muslim, so I always make sure that I send him a card which is suitable. So I didn't give him anything this year. And then I decided, well, what I would do is I'd contact him and ask for a quote, because otherwise I could end up in the same situation where he adds another £100 when I don't know. And I don't like that. And so I messaged him and said, can I please have a quote for the work this year? And what's happened is he's put the price up for both me and my husband on our returns. And then the return for the business, he's also increased that by 5%. And I said to my husband, now I feel like I wish I hadn't asked for a quote, because if I hadn't asked for a quote, maybe he wouldn't have put the prices up, or maybe he would have just told us afterwards. So I've started looking for a different accountant, and then I started thinking, well, could I do it all myself? But my husband wants us to stay with the same person. I just didn't feel that was very honest. And I felt like sort of the goodwill, once you lose that honesty, I didn't like that. I really didn't. But I think it's going to be really hard to find anybody else. We contacted somebody we used to go to school with, who I was a bit like, not really sure I want to give all my financial information to somebody who actually knew me from school. But he took about 8 days to come back to me, and I'd provided him with loads of information, and after 8 days of waiting, he asked me more questions, and I thought, that is not a good initial impression, is it? Taking 8 days to get back to an inquiry. Then I asked my friends and family for recommendations, and they've recommended one of the friends has recommended somebody, and I said, do you use them yourself? And they said, no, he's just a friend. And I thought, well, I was looking for a recommendation from someone you've actually used. But I did contact him, and again, I provided sort of basic information and asked for a price, and he says he wants to meet us. And it won't be via Teams, he'll want to come around the house. And I thought, at least with the man that we've got at the moment, we send everything over to him, he deals with it all, he asks us questions by email. And then right when we first went to him, he came to the house and went through things. But since then, it's done by Teams. And that's so easy and quick. I thought if it's going to be somebody come to the house and start chatting through things, that sounds like it's going to take a lot of time. I don't want that. So I probably will end up staying with the same person. But anyway, I need to get all my receipts together. So you might have spotted that on one of my videos. When I was in the lounge, I was starting to sort out all the paperwork. I can't tell you how much I dislike that. Somebody said to me, the reason why you dislike it is you should be doing it every month. You should put aside an hour a month, every month, and then when you get to the end of the year, you'd be done. And I thought, yeah, I have thought about this before. What I used to do was I used to do some work like June, July, and then some in September. But I have done nothing. So that means that I've got to do absolutely everything in the next couple of months, ready for the end of March. But the reason why I do it like that is because if I do it, I don't like doing it. If I do it every single month for an hour, that's the whole year I'm doing something I don't like. Or at least like this, it's only 2 months doing something I don't like. So you can see there in the wardrobe, the angle the camera's at, that I've taken some things out of the wardrobe that aren't going back in. But I do think that when we move back in the room and she's got all her furniture back in, I think we probably, now she's taller, we can put more things that are in the drawer. We can actually hang them up. Now, we didn't used to do loads of that because, well, when she was small we did, because she didn't get any of her own things out. But since she's been older, we sort of fold a lot of things up and put in the drawer because she can get to them easier. But now she can almost get to the things at the top of the wardrobe. So I think we need to hang more things up. When she was a baby, well, when I was pregnant with her, we bought all this furniture and I chose to get an adult wardrobe. It was an adult wardrobe, adult chest of drawers, and then her cot bed. And I wanted an adult wardrobe because the little ones, they were so small. And I thought, well, by the time that she's about 4, we'll need to get another one. So with you looking at this, does it actually look like I'm getting less and less in the room? Because as I was sorting through and doing this, it did feel like slow progress, but I could feel that I was taking things out. Things were getting, this pile was getting smaller. But now watching it back, it looks like the pile is exactly the same size. Doesn't look like it's got any smaller at all. But I assure you, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until I have like nothing left. Nothing left. Next comment is from Angela. Angela Wag. Hello, Angela. Have you been singing this week? Angela says, it does seem a shame about the old lady's things. Maybe she lives in a small flat or home and just can't take it all. Sounds like he could have tried to donate it as long as it wasn't contaminated in some way. He could have saved the best photos. We'll never know. It's sad. Regarding the hall, I'd probably put the plant and stand out of the living room in the corner, giving you a flexible space. Put the stand on wheels for easy cleaning and to check on the repaired wall. Then get a longer TV cabinet with storage, say a basket per person. Put a smaller plant on it to still get the vibe. Definitely no coats or shoes. They go under the stairs or in the wardrobe. Switch out seasonally. Hope little Emma is well soon. I do like your idea, Angela, about changing the TV thing. The what my TV sits on, I really don't like. And what it that actually just used to be just like a coffee table between 2 seats. So when we had we had the lounge in the other room. This used to be the lounge was the dining room and the dining room was the lounge. So when the dining room was the lounge, we had a 3-seater sofa and 2 chairs. And in between the 2 chairs was that as a little coffee table. So we just bought that. It wasn't very expensive. It did a job and was fine. And we then got rid of, so the leather sofa that we got was from my husband's grandmother. And then when we wanted to change our sofa, his sister had it, the sofa. And then our TV had been on the wall in the dining room. We decided we're not going to put it on the wall in the lounge. So, what can we stand it on? We'll stand it on that box. But that is not a TV stand, and I don't like it. I really don't like it. I'd love to get something that I do like, Angela, but I've looked in quite a few places and either there's the wrong colour wood or it's not very strong, it's not very sturdy. It's so hard to find things. I mean, with our sofa, it took me about 6 years to find a 3-piece suite that I really liked. We looked everywhere and then eventually we found one. So maybe I should look again for TV stands. So you're thinking, Angela, sort of one that could potentially fit in that kind of space a little bit longer and then I could have a plant on the corner, you think? I'd like something that's a different colour wood that doesn't fit in there, that box. That cube box doesn't fit in there. Now that is another one of my time capsules. Because this room has perhaps been the lounge for about, I don't know, about 6 years? 7 years, and that box is absolutely full of stuff. But we've never ever taken the TV off to look inside the box. Well, I've moved the TV and dusted around it, but I've not then taken the lid off and had a little look in there. It's full of things, absolutely full. So there can't be anything too important, can it? But it will be once I start looking at it. Once I start looking through the things, everything will be important. There's probably a lot of drawings that my daughter's done and that sort of thing. So there is a point in the video you'll see me holding my head in my hands. And that was just because I kept looking at the things and thinking, we don't want to get rid of any of these things. Where on earth am I going to put them? No home for the things. So that was why I had a little moment where I just held my head thinking, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Cami says, what are all the uses of the loft room? And Brooke is laughing. How do you mean, what are all the uses of the loft room? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Cami. Do you mean like in terms of how I use it as storage? Oh, I meant to tell you, we had a bit of a difficult situation at guides the other week. You know, because most of you know that I'm a girl guide leader. We're really quite strict about no phones. We didn't used to be, and what started to happen was that phones started to come out more and more and more, and that was a real distraction. There's some girls who don't have phones, so they were kind of sitting there while the girls that did have phones, they were using phones in toilets. We do not know what they're looking at. Parents have different views of what's acceptable, of what's not. So some of them have got TikTok, some of them haven't. Some of them have got Facebook, some of them haven't. And we had to, be very clear that no phones. So that's been absolutely fine for quite some time. The girls are aged 10 to 14. And we've got a couple of girls that have been 14 recently, and we have allowed them to continue to the term after they're 14, which you can do in guides, where we've had like a particular request or we think it would be good for the child, we let them stay a little bit longer. So we've got a girl, she left when she was probably about 12, then she came back again, and she should have gone to the bottom of the queue, but we let her jump the queue because she had been part of guides before, and her mum messaged me to say that her daughter was missing it and could she come back. But she's come back after Christmas. You can really just tell that she doesn't really want to do it. I think it's such a shame because I was 17 years old when I started helping. And even though I was 17, I enjoyed doing the things. And the lady that I do guides with, she would sometimes say, oh, we've got a spare one if you'd like to do it as well. And I used to enjoy doing it. And I'd get involved in the games and all sorts. But the other day, it wasn't yesterday, it was a few days ago, we did a game and where you hide all the shoes in the dark. And one of the shoes was put at the top of the bin. So there was like tissue on the top of the bin. So it wasn't like her shoe was like covered in anything. She was the last one to find the shoe. So everybody was looking for a shoe. No one could find the shoe. And then we looked in the bin. Oh, and hers is in the bin. Well, you could really, the look upon her face, you could tell that she was 14. That's all I would say. She left the room. She was really, really not happy. And one of the new leaders, or she's like a training leader, she went out and spoke to her. Now, you've got to be really careful speaking on one-to-one, in terms of what's said, what's discussed. And the girl's friends came and joined her. Anyway, they were out there for, I should think, about 30 minutes. And I sort of feel a little bit like the leader who sort of like recently got involved and was having this conversation, she's not necessarily made the sort of separation that she's a leader. She's not their friend. So it ended up being that they were basically complaining about me and the other leader because we don't allow them to have phones. And it's all related to the week before. I realised that 3 of them had disappeared. And I thought, have they gone to the toilet? I went to the toilet and the 3 of them stand in the toilet on their phones. And of course, when they're that age, they don't understand that, that we're thinking about safeguarding. I'm thinking about if one of them has got something on their phone which is just not appropriate and they then show other girls, and we get a phone call from the mother to say, not happy about this, not happy about that. So for the first time ever, I said, can you hand me the phones, please? They weren't happy about it, but we took the 3 phones and I took them and put them on the table where me and the other leader stands. And me and the other leader sort of chatted about this, and she said, well, other units do the basket idea. And they have a basket, and the basket sits on the corner, and all the phones go into the basket. But It's a shame because all the other girls have got their phones switched off and in their bag, or they leave them at home. So this sort of 30-minute conversation pretty much sounded like that was complaining about the rules and about being too strict. So that was really challenging. And then after we had all of that, I then got a text message where one of the mums was complaining about one of the games we'd played, and was complaining about something else, like literally a really long text message. I said to my husband, I think some parents forget that we work so hard with this to try and make sure there's like fun activities, and they forget that we're volunteers. And I thought, I'm not going to respond by text message. It's probably best to have a conversation with this mum. So the next day, we managed to get a time where we could speak. And she started saying about the game. She said, and I thought, oh, like, keep quiet. But she was saying, well, what I think is that you should have 6 or 7 games and then let the girls vote for what game they'd like to do. And I was listening thinking, that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do. But yeah, the whole thing where it just seems to be that people sort of forget that we're volunteers and we're trying to make sure that everybody's included, that the games are right for everybody, the activities are right for everybody, at the same time as having girls trying to break the rules with their phones. Oh my goodness. I really that night came home and thought, I'm just going to have a break. I think when my daughters finish guides, maybe that'll be my time to say, right, I've done my stints. And what will that be? About 20 years, 25 years, nearly 30 years. Goodness me. But I said to the other leader, the one who's training, I said, well, it's not a problem. I said, I think it'd be a good idea if we have a conversation with the parents, just to say, you know, I probably should have had the conversation last week when I took the phones from them because they were in the toilet. I keep doing these messages across the whole board, but actually it only relates to like 2 or 3 girls. And there's only 2 or 3 girls that are like pushing the boundaries and breaking the rules. Lots of the other girls, the parents don't agree with having phones, or they tell the children there's no point having the phone there. If there's an emergency, you can speak to Emma or speak to one of the leaders and they'll call home. And they're being picked up, so it's not like they're walking home in the dark. But I then said, oh, I think it'd be a good idea. And the new leader said, oh, well, no, because that's like breaking their confidence. And I said, but that's like the first thing that you have to say to young people. If they go to confide in something with you, or they want to talk to you about something, you can't then not pass that on. So she should have really made it very clear, you know, thank you for speaking to me about this. I will need to discuss it with the other leaders, and we might need to speak to your parents. So here you can see the parlour's getting smaller. It's getting smaller and smaller. So the steps are empty out everything from the room. The wardrobe we're not quite sure about because we've got nowhere to put it unless we stand it in the bath. No, I'm joking. I'm not sure where we're going to stand the wardrobe, but that'll have to be probably take the drawers out and just sort of stand it maybe somewhere in the middle when we decide what to do with the flooring. The carpet is going to be taken up. The underlay is being taken up. Now, if you watch my next video, you will see me show you what is underneath the underlay. I had completely forgotten that actually we put the carpet down on a tiled area. It looks really, really nice. So you'll have to wait to the next video to see that. But you can see where I've taken the fire apart. So I dusted all that and cleaned that. Got a few things still left in here, but you can see I'm slowly emptying it all out. So we're going to rip up the carpet. I'm going to try and do it in sections because I might use it to suppress weeds. I've not decided yet. Might go in the bin in pieces. The underlay I found that was like breaking into pieces, but we put that down in 2008. So that has had a reasonable life. And this, out of all of the carpets we had put down, this carpet was the cheapest. This carpet wasn't such good quality because it was always going to be the spare bedroom. So you can see that I am getting there. So in the next part of the video, you'll see that I then go through the items that I've decluttered. and I've got rid of. So there's lots of different things. I've got rid of some paperwork, I've got rid of some pictures, I've got rid of some clothes, various different things that my daughter just doesn't want anymore. So that was just over a whole basket load. So my mountain in the hall of stuff is getting bigger and bigger. I think some of you will be really quite shocked when you see how much stuff I've got sitting in the hall ready to go to the charity shop. I did think to myself, really, I should start getting rid of 2 bags at a time, because sometimes they have a limit of what I can drop off. But I do also want to see the total that's leaving. I think that would be quite good fun. Everyone can see everything that's actually going out of my house. So I'm very close to the end of my video now, where you'll see me sitting and going through everything that I'm getting rid of. But before I disappear, I wanted to check for those of you from the United Kingdom, did you watch Traitors? Oh my goodness, I watched Traitors. The 3 of us watched it together. It's past my daughter's bedtime, so we tended to watch it like the next day or in the morning. So we watched the final this morning. Oh, but that was so good. We absolutely loved it. So I'm getting really close to the end of my video now. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Please do let me know in the comments what you're up to over the weekend. Some of you are working in the house at the same time as listening to me. So please do let me know what you've been up to. Are you doing any tidying, sorting, decluttering, cleaning, decorating? You'll have to let me know. So right at the very end, the video, I just literally sit on the floor and talk through all the different things that I'm getting rid of that are in the basket. So some things that are going in the rubbish, some things recycling, and some things are going to the charity shop. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Thank you for all your kindness, the likes and your hypes, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! So I'm just going to count the things that I'm getting rid of. Got a rubbish bag here and a recycling bag. So 1 a big bow, 2 a book, 3 something for the charity shop, 4 a coat hanger, 5 some clothes that don't fit, 6 a box that I have been keeping, 7 a programme which I have been keeping, 8 a picture, 9 a certificate, 10 a box, 11 picture, 12 a picture, 13 some details, 14 an envelope, 15 some paperwork, 16 a belt, 17 a box, 18 some potions, 19 a wand, 20 a little set, 21 a coat hanger, 22 a quilt set, 23 a quilt set, 24 a quilt set, 25 a quilt set, 26 some shorts, 27, 28 a coat hanger, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 some papers, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 a belt, 41, 42 an outfit, 43, 44 and a thing to protect, 45 a top, 46 some plastic and some screws, 47 a hair clip, 48 a puppet, 49 some paperwork, 50 a jacket, 51 a hairband, 52 a hairband, 53 a hairband, 54 a coin, 55 a toy, 56, 57 a clip, 58 a badge, 59 a leg, and then lots of little bits, a hairband and some bits is my last item.